Hey, what's up, guys? It is Dan from FightWave, and today I'm joined by somebody who I'm very excited to speak with. Obviously, you guys know I love my Australian prospects, and today we got a prospect for the ages, somebody who I've been keeping a tentative eye on, fighting out of the Hale Lions Den Academy in Sydney, Australia. Somebody who, in my opinion, is amongst a triumvirate of elite fighters. Him and his teammates are going to be, in the news across Australian MMA. They're fighters that are already making their presence known from the esteemed Lions Den Academy. Today, I'm joined by the Macedonian hammer himself, Kris Ustijanovski. How are you doing today, my brother?
Good, man. I'm feeling good. I'm just glad to be here. Glad to be on this.
Absolutely. And obviously, Kris, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure right now just to be able to speak with you. Talk to me about how everything's been, because obviously you were slated to fight at Eternal 78, and then a hand injury forced you out of that matchup. Talk to me just about how recovery's been now, and you've got a matchup, obviously, October 28th against Lawrence Louis. How's that?
Yeah, so obviously I didn't get to fight at Eternal Sydney just because of a hand injury. Man, we tried to do everything we could to get to that matchup, but, it didn't work out, obviously. We didn't want to go into that fight, any excuses. We wanted to give Daniel Mitchell his fair shot, and we wanted to go in there 100%, but, it didn't work out. So, yeah, just been recovering, and I'm still fit, so I'm ready to go for this next show in October 28th on Superfight against Lawrence, where we're ready to go.
Absolutely, and that's a stacked card you're fighting on the Superfight series. A lot of great talent to really reflects the depth of the Australian MMA scene. A lot of guys from the amateur circuit making their pro debuts, a lot of regional circuit guys who've really been well recognized. You've got, obviously, new teammate Ben Patterson fighting on that card. You've got Igor MMA's Shai Krimitat. And then, just a lot of other great talent fighting on this card. Looking at this event, what excites you about fighting on this event? And obviously, it's a step away from Eternal and the great show that they put on. But what kind of excites you about this event going into it?
Yeah, look, I haven't fought in Sydney in like 5+ years, so I'm so happy to fight in front of a home crowd. I'm always on enemy territory, so it's going to be good to fight in front of in front of the Sydney fans. So. Can't wait to put on a show for that.
Absolutely. And I mean, looking right now at just overall the scene in Eastern Australia, in Sydney, in New South Wales, and in Queensland, more importantly, the scene is at an all-time high right now. It only continues to up the ante. And looking at gyms like, Lions Den Academy, it's just phenomenal to see what you guys have accomplished. You've got an amazing triumvirate right now with yourself, Joe Davis, and George Mongols. Obviously, the three people on the tip of everyone's tongues coming out of Lions Den. Just a great group of fighters. Talk to me just about the day-to-days, being able to train with such an esteemed group of fighters. And then obviously you've got Alan Philpott, fresh off a win over Sean Elcho, and then just a lot of other fighters. How has it been just training out of Lions Den and just having those guys around you?
Yeah, definitely. Look, I've been training at the Lions Den since I was, 6 years old. So I've been with Luke this whole time, and man, it's never been a better time to be at the Lions Den right now with like George Mangos, we've got Joe Davies, we've got Alan Philpott, we've got Mike Stanoff, Leon, we've got all these guys that, man, they're definitely up and coming, and being surrounded by guys like that, obviously, you're only going to get better. So I'm just glad where the Lions Den is right now, and we're finally getting some, recognition for what we're doing, and now we gotta show that on all these shows and take out everyone. So I think we're doing that pretty well right now. So we're just going to continue that.
Absolutely. Right now, you look at the momentum in the gym. Even despite the ups and downs, I feel like the fighters at Lions Den are not deterred by the ups and downs. You look at Joe Davis, obviously coming off a loss, but more importantly, not being deterred off that and just looking at what's next. It reminds me a lot of, in a way, it's a cheesy example, but like German soccer, where they could be 7-0 down, but they're not deterred off the main goal. I feel like we really see a level of discipline that comes out of the Lions Den fighters. You look at George, what he's done, not necessarily, stoic, but very disciplined and steadfast in his goals, looking towards what's next at such a young age. I feel like just the dynamic at Lions Den, it's instilled kind of a discipline that we don't see from young fighters at such an early point in your career. Talk to me just about obviously going out at your career as long as you have with Lions Den in your corner, and just some of the things you pick up on that maybe you don't see other young fighters picking up on, because I definitely see a sense of professionalism that's echoed from Lions Den that stands out a little bit above some of the other young fighters that come out of other gyms.
Yeah, I definitely think that comes down to, our coach, Luke Pizzuti. He keeps us in check constantly. he always keeps us humble. He's always pushing us every single day. So we can never get ahead of ourselves, because there's always the next challenge. There's always the next big thing. We're not taking easy fights. None of us want easy fights. We want the next big thing. We believe in ourselves so much, and we just want to keep versing these top level guys. So we can never, we're never taking a break. We're never, switched off like year round. We're on it, man. So I think that's a big part of it. Is obviously Luke Pizzuti, our trainer. He's unbelievable, man, and he's been in the game for so long. So he knows what it takes. So we trust in him, and he's just, he's guiding us on our path right now. So we're just going to continue doing what we're doing.
Absolutely, and I think we've seen phenomenal things from the gym thus far. In the short duration that we've had to see professionals coming out of the gym, I feel like just in the short span that you guys have been fighting in your professional careers, it's put Lions Den on the map, and more importantly, continues to put Lions Den on the map with the talent that comes through the gym and trains there, and also just the continuation of talent coming in, being added, and just it speaks to the depth of the Australian MMA scene, because for the longest time, it was a culmination of amateurs working their way up to the pro circuit, obviously, just getting that experience in. And we see it across you, Joe, and George's records, where you guys have such an esteemed, amateur records. You guys have fought in the amateur scenes through and through, not denying anyone of the challenge. And more importantly, you've built up that confidence to now where you guys are all excelling as professional fighters. So I wanted to ask you, just in terms of when you started fighting, early on, maybe a couple years back, what's the biggest difference that maybe you've seen starting out to now, and what's the most positive difference that you've seen?
Yeah, look, so when I went professional, all the other boys were professional before me, like George and Joseph. Before that, I was out for about, 12 months. I had a really bad injury, and, seeing all these guys be successful and obviously Mike Stanoff, we got George and Joseph, they were super successful with beginning their pro careers. I think that sort of rubbed off on a lot of the younger guys, as well. So they sort of came up seeing the success of the Den and what we're doing and exactly, what's working. So I think it just brought a lot of attention to our gym, and it brought a lot of people, man. And we're just getting super talented guys every single day. They're just coming in, and it's crazy. The depth at the gym right now it's unbelievable. It's going through the roof.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think the overall depth in the Australian bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, you look at 125 to 155 in Australia, and it just seems like there's a ton of names right now that could be on the doorsteps of a major promotion very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at your division in specific, you fought the cream of the crop from the amateurs to now. You've, like you mentioned earlier, not shying away from a challenge in any sense of the word. Looking at the division right now, it's the best I think it's looked, with Hex obviously putting on Sean Gauchi versus Cody Haddon. You've got Colby Dickness, who's obviously recovering almost 100% from an injury, a former foe of yours. And then also, Daniel Mitchell and a lot of other great names to add into the mix. Seb Sazalat, who fights out of obviously freestyle MMA. The scene has never looked better. What do you make of just seeing how far the scene has come, and just the depth of talent and guys that you could be fighting and looking to stake a claim for the top promotions against?
Yeah, it's also seeing the depth right now, because, the better the depth is, it's going to make me better. So I just want to verse all these guys, beat them, and it's going to show how great I am. So that's my plan. I just want to, line them up, and we're just going to knock them down. At the moment right now, I don't believe anyone's at my level. So I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing, and we're going to get there. We're going to get these guys.
Absolutely, and I feel like we've really seen you coming into your own in terms of your skill set. In my opinion, one of the stronger skill sets I've seen on the regional circuit, and somebody I've obviously been keeping a tentative eye on, as I mentioned earlier. You've got no shortage of inspiration around you. You've met obviously the great Anderson Silva, and you've gotten to speak with him and pick his brain a little bit, but also looking to your heritage and your culture and your roots. You've got a great ambassador for Macedonian MMA in the form of Alexander the Great, Alex Volkanovski, who on 11 days notice at the time of this recording, fighting obviously Islam Makhachev in Abu Dhabi. Talk to me about just the inspiration that you see from Volkanovski, him setting such a strong example for the Macedonian fighters, and obviously your ambitions as a representative of Macedonia, looking to, obviously put your people on the map with your skills, and obviously just being a good ambassador for the sport for them.
Yeah, obviously the Volk took that fight on really short notice. It's it's a huge thing for us, and look, he's done big things for Australian MMA and Macedonians in Australia, but in my career, I really want to take that. I want to take what he's done and take it another step further. I feel like I can do so much. With hopefully the position that I'm in. So, he's done super good things for us, and I just want to even take it to another level of what he's doing. So that's the dream, that's the goal, and I take inspiration from him, the level he's reached, and it's my job to try and surpass that. So what he's done is awesome, and we're just gonna continue on that.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I was gonna ask, just to pick your brain on this, of course, what was it like just being able to meet Anderson Silva, and how do you feel like that, obviously affected how you perceive the game and just motivated you as a fighter, being able to pick up details from his fight game and being able to apply it to yourself, because you've obviously started your pro career with a phenomenal second round finish, I should add. A very dynamic finish at that, mixing it all in beautifully, working it up top, throwing great elbows, working it to the body, and ultimately putting on too much pressure for your opponent to handle. What's been the inspiration behind just being able to meet some of these guys, and obviously how was it meeting the Spider, and how did it affect you?
Yeah, Anderson was a big one for me. I got to meet him. I was very fortunate with that. I think meeting these guys, it made it pretty real for me that, this is definitely possible. You look at these guys, they're superstars, and they've obviously done the biggest things in the sport that you can do, but they're also human. So it made this dream a real thing for me. I truly believe that I'm going to get where I want to get. Obviously I've got to work hard, and I've still got plenty to do, but it's very attainable, I believe. Just the way it's going, and it's a real thing. Especially even I was fortunate enough to train over in TriStar with George and all those, and I got to train with Faras, and that was another big one for me. Obviously George, one of the great, all these guys, greatest of all time, what they do, and you're surrounded with these guys, and these guys, if you're surrounded with these guys, you can only go up. So yeah, it made my dreams very, very, sometimes it felt out of reach, but having these guys around me and training with these guys, and obviously guys at the den as well, it's a real thing right now, and I plan to capitalize on that.
No, yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, I really love seeing that for younger fighters. It's like that almost necessary burst of energy that they need coming up, because you obviously see a lot of fighters. I imagine you've seen your fair share of fighters who come through the gym. They'll maybe have one or two fights, and then they say this isn't for them. But I really think fighting is one of those things you just have to persevere 4, 5, 6, 10 years. It doesn't matter how long, because you're always just one fight away from making it to that big show and getting your name and catapulting yourself to that next stage. You look at yourself, you've had a storied amateur career, 5-3, you've had your fair share of ups and downs. You have that experience. You're looking at that and reflecting on obviously the amateur career, coming into the strong start for your pro career. What's the biggest takeaway you take from just having that experience and having that wealth? Because 8 amateur fights in the States, it's not that it's uncommon, but we often see a lot more of the amateur scene in Australia with a large bulk of fights. Like every Australian fighter I speak to, at least 5 or 6 fights minimum on their amateur career. In America, it's obviously much less, but what's that biggest takeaway been like for you that you've been able to translate into your pro career very nicely thus far?
I think, like you said, we, throughout my amateur career, we versed the best of the best, and whether we came back victorious or not, we learned something. So, and I think I've definitely, that's what I've tried to translate into my professional career, and what I, want to continue doing is just keep improving and versing the best, because it's going to show, like I said, my skills, how good I am, and I just plan on, being the best I can be. So if I'm going to verse these guys, I've got to be my best. So yeah, if I just continue to verse these top level guys, it's going to be a big part of me being successful.
Absolutely. And I obviously feel like you're very well on your way to becoming one of the most well-established talents in Australia right now. But it would be a shame for me not to mention that also you might be the best fisherman in Lions Den Academy gym. You've caught some absolute animals, and definitely you've got a one-up on George and Joe in terms of just being the outdoorsman of the group. How's that been like, just being able to obviously still have your fair share of hobbies and just be able to decompress from all the chaos that maybe the fighting can bring, and be able to take a step back and be, Kris Ustijanovski, the human being, for a second, on top of obviously the chaotic life that being a fighter ensues?
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely the best fisherman there. That's 100% for sure. These guys, they're not. They might be, you know, on my level with fighting, but anything other than that, they're not on my level. So, yeah. But yeah, like you said, like they're my brothers, all those guys. So being outside the gym with all those boys, like, you know, it takes away from all that, like you said, that chaos and that. So we just like to get out, do our thing. Like we do so much together, man. Like we spend 24 hours together, honestly. Like we're at the gym, whether we're at the gym, we're going to playing sports together, we're doing fishing, we're going camping, we're doing everything together. And I think that's a big part of why we're successful, you know, where we're not only in the gym together, we're outside the gym. Even when we're outside the gym, we're talking fighting, we're talking everything. So I think it's a huge part of why we're successful, and it's why it's really strong at the Den right now.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask you, just in terms of funny moments, is there a moment at the Den that really stands out to you as a funny moment? Maybe something that's happened, or is there just too many to count? There's got to be one moment that maybe stands out above all the others in terms of funny moments with the guys in just your corner.
There's too many, man. There's so many, but fishing, there's one I can remember definitely. Me and George were catching some crabs for bait for one of our fishing where we were going fishing, and Joseph ended up getting some crabs in his pants, and he didn't like it. Let's just say that. But yeah, that was pretty funny. But man, there's too many moments, man. We're with each other so much that there's stuff bound to happen.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's just the amazing thing about this sport. I feel like you see the bondage in other sports where young athletes are coming up together. You look at basketball, you know, Devin Booker, Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell. You know, obviously in soccer, you've got a lot of other, you know, great athletes coming up together. But in fighting, it's one of a kind because it's tooth and nail. It's, you know, blood, sweat. It's the epitome of blood, sweat, and tears. We say blood, sweat, and tears for other sports, but it truly doesn't carry over like it does in terms of weight and when it comes to fighting. You got these guys in your corner, you're training with them, you're learning with them, you're studying tape with them, you're doing every single thing with them. And it's the best dynamic I think we've ever seen. It's, you know, you look at this in terms of just taking it all in. What's been the most, I guess, empowering part about having these guys, and how have they improved your perspective on not just fighting, but life as a collective, just being able to have them, you know, embody and share the same struggle as you?
I think, you know, having these boys and my team and everyone around me has really, you know, taught me a lot about, you know, being grateful for having what I have around me, because, you know, at one point, you know, I was the top dog at the Den. You know, I've been at the Den since I was 6 years old, and, you know, I was a top dog, and I didn't have that push like I have now with these boys. You know, so it's been super important to have these guys around. So it's really taught me about being grateful and you know, appreciating what's around me right now, and these people that I have around me right now, because these, you know, at the end of the day, these guys are going to get me where I want to get, and you know, vice versa. I'm there to help them and reach their goals. So it's important to have each other, and yeah, it's just made me super grateful for the position that I'm in, and I'm super blessed to be where I am right now.
Absolutely, and it would be an understatement to say that, or not understatement, it would be, you know, premature of me to say we've seen the best of Kris Ustijanovski, because you've only continued to level up with each and every single bout that you've shown, and your pro debut was something that I think was as phenomenal as a pro debut can get. You really showcased an improvement in every facet of the game. You leveled up almost everywhere, and you showed how dynamic of a striker you are in terms of just mixing it to the body and ripping elbows up top, which in my opinion is an underutilized skill. To be able to throw the elbows like you did, it takes a special breed of striker. And the sky is the limit right now. Obviously, Kris, thank you so much for your time. And more importantly, the takeover begins in, you know, October 28th. You're fighting, you know, to become 2-0. Talk to me just about, obviously, the prospective goals for the year to close 2023 out strong, because, you know, you were slated to fight Eternal 78. Hand injury forced you out. That was an exciting matchup against Daniel Mitchell. A rematch, obviously, I know you would have been very excited to kind of avenge that loss. And more importantly, something that I know you'll be looking to get back in the near future. You know, not looking past your opponent on the 28th. With a win there, you improved to 2-0. What are some other goals you might have for the year? And just as a fighter, do you look to maybe fight one more time in December, or do you think it's October 28th and whatever the result is, then just wait until 2024?
Yeah, obviously not looking past Lawrence. You know, he's a tough guy, comes out of a tough gym. So, you know, my full focus is to that right now. But, you know, I'm planning on going there, putting on performance and coming out of that, you know, unscathed. So, you know, if that goes all well, then we'll definitely fight again at the end of the year, man. I'm just trying to be as active as possible. But, you know, I'm not putting anything set yet. So we're just going to go ahead with this fight and see what happens. But, man, there's a lot of names that I'd love to get back. So, and whenever the time's ready, I'm ready to go for that.
Absolutely. And, you know, I'm excited, and I'll be keeping a tentative eye on that October 28th card. Kris, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to watching you fight October 28th. And to the fans at home watching, if you don't know about Kris Ustijanovski and the absolute killers that come out of Lions Den Academy in Sydney, Australia, be warned right now. In a year's time, you'll be knowing every single one of their names, because this gym is producing killers right now on top of killers, with under the tutelage of, like, you know, some of the best coaches in this sport and just some of the best training partners that you can imagine. It's only a matter of time till these guys become household names, and I look forward to watching you, Joe, George, and obviously all the other guys take over very, very, very soon. It's been me, Dan, from FightWave, guys. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this interview. Do be sure to check out Kris on social media. I will be linking his stuff in the description down below. Macedonians, get behind your guy. Australians, get behind your guy. Any fans of Australian MMA or fans of MMA in general, get behind Kris Ustijanovski. You will not regret it. It's been me, Dan, from FightWave, guys. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this interview. Do be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and have a great day, guys.